Alright, hey folks, my name is Pravus and welcome to a game called County of Fortune. This is not exactly a city builder, that's thinking too small. Instead, this game is all about building and developing a region, kind of a kingdom builder, if you will. We're going to be setting up all sorts of production chains, managing the culture and the logistics of our people, you'll see. I'm currently playing with a demo, which I believe will be leaving Steam very soon if it hasn't already. The exact release date for this game has not been announced yet, but that is a-okay. So, to kick things off, we are going to be introduced to the king. My name shall be Dietrich Peverell. I don't really care, it's fine. And which house do we hail from? I don't care, this seems fine, the House of Ferrers. Now, the king awaits me, where he will describe his vision for a land to the north. Behold my kingdom! It once prospered. Now it falls under the weight of its own success. Basically, they just don't have anywhere near enough resources. So somebody has to go and establish a new land for the kingdom and farm out all sorts of various resources. Uninhabited for centuries, we truly are going to have a clean slate to work with, which sounds great. My question is, do I get to declare independence and form my own kingdom someday? I don't know. Not in this demo, but maybe someday. We'll find out. Alright, so this is the world that we are working with. It's actually a fairly respectable amount of land. The first thing we need to do is place down a settlement. Now, the game does recommend a handful of different locations. I'm going to pick something up a little bit further to the north because I know that the rivers are running down to the south, and that's going to become relevant to me at some point. So maybe we just go ahead and settle right over here, I guess. But first, I actually do need to decide what kind of settlement this is going to be. Now, you'll see here is there are many different kinds of settlements to work with, all based on different natural resources that we can extract. The first thing I care about, really, is going to be food, for sure. So if I wanted to place down, let's say, a lentil farm in this area where all the blue is, that's not a bad option, and I'll go ahead and pick right over here. So this is our first little settlement, Sheer. And from here, I need to elect a mayor. Now, different mayors are going to have different abilities associated with them. This guy right here, for example, Caspar Vane, has extra vegetable production, which means I'll be able to produce a load of vegetables, which is pretty good if you are the kind of person who wants to grow a ton of food. So I'll go ahead and pick this person right here. From this, you're going to see that we have peasants in our city, and each of these people are going to need some resources. To start off, the most important reason you're going to do that is because it increases your building efficiency. Right now, our lentil farm, if we take a look at our building here, is only operating at 30% efficiency. That's not exactly very good. If we are to provide the locals with different resources, usually lots of food, but eventually some other luxury goods, that efficiency is going to go up. And that means I'll have more resources that I can trade between different cities, so they can sustain each other and get more efficiency, and you get the idea. For now, let's just start by saying we're going to have sour lentils as a special food that is being produced here. That's going to boost up my efficiency to 87%. So now you can see we're producing 85.7 lentils per year. Now, this particular city has just started a brand new region, these pink borders right along here. And naturally, as I start building out more settlements in this area to gather up more resources, these borders are going to start spreading. What's going to end up happening in this game is you're going to have lots of different regions, all specializing in specific resource extraction, and then trading amongst each other to bring about a sort of mutual prosperity. But we got a ways to go on that still. We need to get ourselves some stone. Now, I happen to know that there is a stone deposit not too far away, so if I want to go ahead and set up a stone quarry over at Mia, this wouldn't be a bad plan. Do I want to place it kind of close to the river? Yeah, sure, why not? Right over here should be fine. Unfortunately, nothing is currently connected, and to that end, I need to get myself some bridges. So real quick, we'll build a little wooden bridge right along here, and then we can start building roads between our different areas. So I'll just do that right around like so. Perfect. Now, these roads are actually more difficult to manage than you might expect. You'd think, oh, you just placed a little path. How exciting. If we actually click on the road, you're going to see something kind of interesting, though. We're going to have a dirty road that is currently untraveled by people, and as such, this road is overgrown with brush. It slows people down. It's just generally not in very good condition. As resources are going to get transferred back and forth, what's going to happen is this road starts getting well worn, and we're going to see the efficiency of our logistics going up as time goes on. If it gets over-traveled, we actually will see the road start to break down. So there will come a point where managing your logistics and where traffic is going will be an important part of the game, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. For right now, let's get back over here to another stowaway. I'm going to say once again, yeah, let's go ahead and have some sour lentils. That seems important. That way we'll be able to boost up the efficiency of our stone quarry. And I would like to get myself a mare. None of these guys have any particular bonuses, so we'll just go ahead and pick somebody. Notice that each of these different people come from a different house, and this will be important for us later in order to balance out power, but we'll come back to that. Now, I need another settlement for myself, and that's going to be a logging camp. Where can I place that? Somewhere around a bunch of trees, of course. Maybe right over here? Yeah, sure. Doesn't seem too bad. Can't place the settlements too close together, but this should be fine. And just like before, let's make sure that these get connected. And I will assign, once again, some sour lentils over here, and we need to find ourselves another mare. I want to save this person right here because the Carpenter's Guild is something I'm going to get very soon. So, how about we just pick you for now so I can balance out some power? We can move our mares around a little bit. Don't worry too much. It's okay. By the way, there's our first person dropping some lentils off over in the stone road. So that's going to appear over here. And now if we go to this area, you can see that our efficiency has gone up by at least a little bit. Not phenomenal, not yet, but it's starting to get there. And while we wait for some lentils to get delivered over here in Ainsford, we'll need to get ourselves another settlement. In this case, I think we want to have the Carpenter's Guild, and I'll place it kind of close by because I'm going to be dropping a lot of wood off in this general direction. So let's go ahead and do this like so. And this is where I'll go ahead and assign my Carpentry Guild guy. Okay. So why do we care about that? Well, you may be wondering, why am I able to place all of this stuff down over here? The reason why is we have a resource shown up here called construction points. And right now I have a handful of free points that I can work with, which is why everything is this big instantaneous deal for me. You are going to gain construction points to start by chopping down trees and then turning them into planks at a Carpenter's Guild. If you do not have any carpentry or construction points, you're not going to be able to build anything, and you'll have to wait for a long time for anything to generate naturally or until you finally get something set up over here. So that's one of the reasons I want to get these building materials up and running. Without those, well, then I can't do a whole lot now, can I? So over here, we're going to see our food get dropped off. Now we've just dropped off some logs, and we should be able to start producing some of these points per year. That's going to be great. If I click on these roads, by the way, let's just click on this real quick, you can see that, yeah, this is starting to get worn down just a little bit more, which is boosting up our speed. So managing traffic is going to be very important, but that's okay. Now, if I want to hit the region here, you can see that, yeah, our borders have expanded a bit. We also can see exactly what our current balance is looking like for all of our resources. And we're looking pretty good when it comes to things like some lentils, logs, stone, etc. Everything is currently in the positive. As we start building out more trade, that's obviously going to get a lot more complicated. But for now, it's doing okay. What we can do if we want to start making things even more impactful is to build another settlement where we can get some more food, something that I can then trade to all my other towns and make them more effective. How about some beautiful cabbage? Maybe something like this would be okay? I guess, sure, why not? All right, so there is Warkworth, once again, gonna hook everything up. And over here, we're gonna say, yeah, we're gonna have lentils, but we're also going to have cabbage soup, which means I can go to all these other towns and start saying we're going to have some cabbage soup. And eventually, once the resources arrive, you can see this is gonna boost up my base efficiency level by another almost 30%, which means everyone produces more to sustain each other. You can do this one more time with another type of food if I want to, and that's not bad just to boost things a little bit more, but let me take a look at the quick region map here. We're only allowed to have 8 settlements currently in this area, so we have to pick and choose a little bit what we think we're going to want. And as much as it would be nice to get myself some additional food, I might need something else instead. So let's think about getting myself either some wooden chests or some woolen tunics. If I want to get myself, let's say, a sheep farm, that may not be a bad idea. I could place this somewhere. How about up over here? Or maybe I'll start by placing down a wool tunic area, like, let's say, right over here. Yeah, this seems okay. And then I'll get the sheep farm right over this direction. Perfect. We'll assign somebody who's really good at the wool tunics, like so, and another mare over here who's really good with the sheep farm. Good. And then once those start getting produced, we can place some wool tunics. We'll start with the food areas to make sure I have plenty to go around. But as far as the region is concerned, yeah, it's mostly things like cabbage that were a little bit on the low side right now. So I'd like to boost up their efficiency a bit, please. Thank you. And what's one more food I can get myself? We could do turnips. Sure, why not? It's fine. And while I wait for everything to kind of balance out a little bit, I'm just going to hold down the F key, which makes everything go a lot faster. Periodically, you're going to have some of these little pop-ups. So we have the blocked path. Now, we're going to have some options here which give me a couple of different benefits, which can be useful for, let's say, some regional production bonuses. Also could be relevant because, again, we do have different houses that are in this region. You might find that there are some of these events that will change like your relations with different houses. We'll get back to that in a little bit, but just be aware that it is a thing. But now we're starting to see some pretty nice efficiency in some of these places. 145% right now over in the lentil farm, and that's only because we're missing a resource right now, so once that gets up there, now we're up to 200%. Yeah, resources are starting to look pretty darn good. Unfortunately, to get ourselves to the next level, we are going to have to move from a simple hamlet to the next level. This is where you might need to build yourself a new building, and as you start meeting a bunch of these needs, new building slots will come online. So right over here where this Carpenter's Guild is, like, that's nice and all, but maybe I can make use of some more wood if I wanted to place down, let's say, a wooden chest workshop. That would be okay. So we will. This is going to be a major wood processing town, which means we're going to be able to start putting wooden chests in all the towns and properly max out all of our efficiency. And everyone's currently looking real good, so that efficiency is pretty solid. Could boost up other resources if we need to, but right now, since the region's looking pretty good, I'm going to leave it alone. So now we need to decide if we are indeed going to be upgrading one of these little settlements into something a bit larger. So long as 5 needs have been met, we're going to be able to do that. For the sake of it, I'm probably going to do that over here in Ainsford over here, just since it's on some water. We would be able to get some logistics there if I want to. So let's go ahead and level you up. Now, we not only have to worry about the peasants and all of their needs, but we have a new tier of population. And that's going to be the commoners, who have new food needs, new equipment needs, and as a result, right now, their efficiency is not looking that good. Now, what this is going to necessitate here at some point is that I start up a new region, because this one's already maxing itself out. So this is where I'll need to place down a whole new one and start gathering up new goods and then trading back and forth. There are a couple of different ways you can trade in this game. There is trade by land, which of course requires roads, and marketplaces between different regions, and we also will be able to trade by river. Certain resources, like stone or logs, cannot be transported by road. They have to be done by a river. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to place, let's say, my lumber over here and my stone over here on some sort of a water source which is traveling toward the larger tributary. So while these guys kind of sort themselves out, let's think about where I could place down a whole new region. If I place somewhere far away, let's say down over here in this area, we'd be able to set up a new region that will trade by sea. It's worth noting what other deposits are going to exist in the area. For example, I've got sand down over here. That could be relevant if I want to start making, let's say, some glass or something and then send that up. Or we've got some clay over here if I want to make some pottery. You get the idea. And if you're wondering, by the way, about how the river works, if you start placing down a settlement, notice these little arrows down over here, which will tell you exactly the direction the water is flowing. Very important, because at some point you can only start transporting goods by raft downstream. You'd have to get sailboats in order to travel upstream, which complicates things quite a lot, as you might imagine. I'm going to start by just placing down a bit of food production in a few areas. And just like before, let's go ahead and get ourselves some food. They'll produce a bit, and we can just kind of get this started. All right, good. Now the game wants me to introduce you to noble houses and cultures. Let's take a look at this. So with our noble houses right now, we can see our current power distribution between all of the different families, which is in part determined by all the different houses that have mayors. So you might notice that the Neville family here currently has, let's say, 4 settlements under their control, as opposed to 2 for each of the other ones. Hence, they have a lot of extra power. Theoretically, you do want to balance the power out kind of where you can, unless there's a good reason not to. Every one of these houses also has a different relation value with you, which in part goes up if you actually make them happy and give them positions, but you know, the more powerful they are, the more potentially a threat they're going to be to you in some way. I don't know. This is something I haven't explored a lot yet, but it is kind of important. Basically, what it comes down to is balance the power and keep them happy. All right? That's what you want to do. But more than that, every one of these settlements also has something called a culture. We have 3 currently represented here. We've got the Southmerians, the Red Marchers, and the Thornwalders, each of which apparently have some of their own personal regional production bonuses, not to mention their own distribution and kind of power, balance of power within your region. The thing about each of these different cultures is as people immigrate into your region, they will naturally start to assimilate into something, and as they do, you're going to get different levels of renown. The more renowned your different cultures are, the more beneficial they are going to be. So there's kind of a delicate balancing act here as well. I don't really know how to manipulate this in my favor. It's more just something I see happening, and could be kind of fun in the future. Oh, here's an interesting little event. The Unjudged Duel. 2 men fought outside a granary, no one stepped in, now one is dead. We could have a code of honor which decreases the effect of corrupt mayors. I don't even know how corruption works yet. Or we could have an extra 15% bonus provided by settlement mayors, which we know is really good. Interesting. So this affects a particular culture. Huh. I don't know how bad corruption is yet. I imagine very bad. But I'm going to go for the 15% because I know I benefit from that right away. Gosh, we're getting events right and left all of a sudden. Holy crud. I think every individual culture is getting an event right now to kind of differentiate them a little bit. Building maintenance reduction, extra traders and trading. Yeah, I guess. Make the Thornwalders really good at trade? Maybe? I don't know, man. I guess I'll go for maintenance. It's probably okay. Okay, so now we have a second region that's largely self-sufficient, and that's looking pretty good. Before we continue, we have received a charter. Let's go ahead and see what happens here. So apparently we get some sort of special ability. Office transfer ceremonies, mayor replacement penalty doesn't hurt relations as much. Build and road maintenance is cheaper is nice. Road construction cost, region range, and settlement capacity. This feels really, really good to me because it's going to give me more production options per region. So I can kind of focus and concentrate my industry a little bit more. I gotta say that seems great, so let's just go ahead and pick that sucker up. As far as individual regions, again, we're still in the positive across the board here, which is good. I don't recall this guy being elected, but that's because I didn't do anything for it. It looks like this family, with all of its power, did get a good vote, 60% majority here, so now we got somebody else who's currently ruling this area. Interesting. Okay. Well, what might be wise for us at this point is to start thinking about trade between the different regions. So if I were to come over here and level this sucker up, so now we have some commoners along the main river, we can go over here and say, hey, I want to have a little raft port. And what you can see is that we have the green that is then feeding into this transitionary area and then into the purple. So this would be a way of doing the transportation. Yeah. And then we will do the exact same thing up over here to make sure that we have a place to load the materials. Okay. We should also think about what else we want to do with things like this stone. I have a carpenter's guild which is producing the planks, but we're going to need to have some stone at some point as well. Because there's 2 different kinds of these building points. You may notice we have these carpentry points and we have these stone ones. Let's place the Mason's Guild right here where the stone is already located, because that might just make sense. I mean, I have a lot of buildings in these different areas that I have not been taking advantage of up to this point. So, like, we got a lot of room for growth here. And if I go to the commoners, what do we really want? Well, if we had things like flour and fish, we would be able to start making some stuff. Yeah. We could also try grinding grain and flour into bread. Sure. Cheese-filled pastries, cabbage pottage with bread, chickpea soup with bread, honey cakes. Yeah, lots of good stuff. Not to mention we need to make candles, ceramic tableware, toys, musical instruments, and soap. Okay. Most of these are still ultimately going to require various different peasant buildings, some of which we might be able to take advantage of here, and some of which we may not. We could theoretically grind up some rye and turn that into bread. May not be bad. Alternatively, since this particular leader is already very good with sheep, what if we just double down and go for cattle farms over here? That way we can start producing some hides as well as some milk. Makes sense to me. Instead, I'll produce, let's say, wheat over here. And then in this area, we'll go to buildings. If I could just meet some more needs, we'll be able to get ourselves a mill. But I don't currently have a way of getting a mill. That's a problem. What if I leveled up? I guess I could try over here. I'm trying to think what makes sense based on some of the mayor bonuses, you know? Guess I'll level up over here so that I can place down a water mill. Not exactly how I would have wanted to do this, but it's all right. Notice that we do require some of these stone building points here, masonry points, in order to do this. And this is one of the things where I would like to see this kind of broken up a little bit. Right now, it's just showing some free construction that I'm able to do. I like to have something up at the top here that just shows me the 2 individual resources that are important, but it's okay. Once the water mill is built up, we're going to be able to start producing the flour. And with flour, I'm going to be able to have fish as well as some fish pie stuff. So this seems like at least one decent meal I can put over here. So now we'll be producing about 58.6 flour per year. Okay. What else can I get? Preferably something using the milk. I guess if I had some cheese and stuff, yeah, that would also work. So one more upgrade somewhere wouldn't be bad, but I can't have any more higher level settlements at my current level. We're kind of stuck with what I've got, at least for the moment. Should be told, maybe going for the raft port this early on was actually a mistake, because it's not like I can do anything with it until I have more building slots. So I might actually destroy this for now, and I could replace this with a cheesery or something. It's not great, but I mean, like, we could. Or toys. I don't have any clay, so that doesn't do it for me. Yeah, for now, let's go ahead and place down a cheesery, and with that, we'll actually be able to start producing another food. Oh, I'm wrong. Toys don't require clay, they require leather. Got it. Can I get myself some clay over down here? The answer is yes, so we'll go ahead and expand out this way, producing 215 clay a year. Doesn't seem too bad to me. Over here, I do want to level up because in this area, I could also get myself a watermill. And over here, let's consider getting myself, like, pottery? Yeah. But unless I can ship some stone down here, these guys can't do much of anything. So I've kind of run into a little bit of a conundrum here. Somehow, I have to be able to ship some materials down in order to continue sustaining the next village up. But without more food of the right kind, I can't support my commoners. And without more commoners, I can't get more building slots in order to do more stuff. So I am indeed slightly stuck over here. I feel like some of this could be solved if I had the ability to get some other resources shipped down here. So maybe we want to set up another region, and if that's the case, I want a place where I can start making things like honey and candles, and an apiary would make sense for that. So something over this direction. Might be nice to have some stone as well. We need to be upstream from the river. So I'm kind of looking at this area over here and thinking this might make some sense. So voila, we will create ourselves a new region. Okay, that's another region fully set up. So now I'm making wax and honey, so I should be able to upgrade one of these. Honestly, maybe the problem is I just can't afford to do a raft port yet. Anyway, maybe I'm supposed to be getting a marketplace or something instead and just have a lot of land connections. Could be the simpler way to go, if I'm honest. Could be. The problem is you need to have enough goods for the commoners that they want to level up and get another building slot, right? That's my big issue. And most of the buildings or rather most of the resources necessary require at least one, sometimes two different commoner buildings. And if I can only have 2 upgraded settlements, that means right now I'm restricted to a maximum of 2 commoner buildings per region. So this, for example, baked beans with bread alone would take up both of those slots. I need to have a watermill and I would need to have a bakery. Sure, with that I would be able to make a couple different kinds of food, but that's not enough to get my next thing. So I need to be able to get something like candles up and running, as well as some food with the minimum number of commoner buildings possible. And I guess my only options would be either cheese or flour, plus a chandlery, and that's my 2 buildings done, which leaves me with no building to then start transporting goods elsewhere. Do you see the conundrum here? So I think the real trick is I should be focusing just on boosting up equipment needs, because I don't think food actually does any building slots. In fact, I know it doesn't. Down here, food affects things like building efficiency, but what I really need are these slots. So if I were to go over here, level this up as well, and then build a chandlery, then I can start getting myself the candles, which will unlock another slot here and there. Okay, I've got this figured out now. Needed to play around with it a little bit. It just needs to have, well, I say that, 50%, 50%. Yeah, I think it's the same number of building slots to just get more efficient. Either way, point is, that's the issue. As long as I can get some equipment going in all my regions, we can start setting up trade. Which still begs the question, what buildings exist that I can use that only need 1 special slot, and musical instruments up over here is the only one that's going to work. So ironically, forget the cheese for a minute. That's not helpful to me. Let's go ahead and get the musical instrument workshop, and then we can fulfill that need there and there. And then over here, you guys should be making ceramic tableware, but we're out of stock at the moment. Why? What's the issue? The issue is that I don't have stone. Okay, so like I can't do anything here. I have to get myself a raft port here so I can receive masonry points so I can start producing pottery. Got it. Okay. And this is where it's all starting to come together like a puzzle, ain't it? There we go. We have a building slot over here. Okay. With that done then, Well, we've got options, finally. So let's think about trade now, then. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. So from here, then, we need to set up a couple of products. I want honey to be transported down here to the Stone Hills, and candles as well to go from here to here. All right, so everything's going to have to go downstream for a bit. And then likewise, we need stone to get transported from the aptly named Stone Hills down here to the Windy Fields. At which point it will be turned into masonry points down here, and we'll be able to build whatever I want. Okay, another event going on here. Quarantine at the manor. Okay, there's a sickness going on here. Can assign an envoy, and you can see that each of these different characters have a greater chance of increasing the success of this event. This kind of reminds me, honestly, this entire interface reminds me a little bit of Crusader Kings. Not totally sure why or if that's intended, but it does feel that way. All right, 62% chance of success, and it failed, and everyone hates me now. Great! Just realized we may have a problem here, actually. Hold on. Wait a minute. I've got a raft loading up here, and I don't think they can go upstream to reach over here, which means I've actually placed this poorly. This ain't gonna work in its current spot. I need to move it somewhere else. It has to be down here in Coston. I don't have a choice. Okay, rearrange. There we go. We have rafts arriving. Okay, now the goods are flowing. My bad. Which means now I can get something like a toy workshop as well, and probably a bakery for the sake of bread. Or did I get rid of my watermill? No, I still got it. We're good. Which means pottage is on the menu. But we have a huge deficit of all sorts of other goods over here now, so I better fix some of these. Good thing I have lots of different peasant buildings still sitting around, huh? And now that stone has been delivered, we're able to start producing pottery down over here. Okay. Now, we've got some more charters I can make use of. Let's see. Region settlement capacity. I don't need more regions right now. Could be good, I suppose. Maybe cheaper building and road maintenance wouldn't be bad, and then, I don't know. Suppose you could do some extra range, so it's easier for me to just place additional things further away from the capital. I guess? I don't know. The way that we're going to continue getting some of this is just getting additional experience, so right now I have to grow my population up to 280 people, which has a ways to go. I've also got some special perks here as far as mayor education, which means I could give some of my mayors some additional training. So like if I went to this character right here, Isabel Marwood, I could try to say, hey, I want to boost up a particular type of building, which may not be a bad idea. And there we go. With all three of these working, right now the resources are relatively balanced across the board. No one's suffering a major deficit, with some exceptions maybe up over here. And what I suppose I would probably do next is think about where I could set down another one of these regions. And are there any particular resources I'm missing right now? Not really. I think we've got everything that's currently available in the demo to some degree or another, except for presumably moving on to another tier of population, because right now, yeah, we got peasants and commoners, there's going to be artisans, and there's going to be patricians available as well. But we have to meet even more needs for that to work. And for that to be a thing, I guess kind of upstream, I need to produce all the candles, all the soap, all the everything, and then just ship them down. And at the end of the day, whoever's at the very end of the river is probably going to be the receiver of like all of the goods, at which point we could go for another major upgrade. So for example, if I wanted to have toys and I wanted to have candles and stuff over here, we probably could, but I would need to ship some more toys and candles down here. I mean, let's just see. There we go. Dunster over here now has everything, which means we could level it up one more time, and that is in fact the end of the demo. That's kind of what I expected. So we're not going to get to see what happens here with the artisans, what happens with the patricians. Still, it's kind of cool having such a large map to work with all these different resources, all these different production chains, and you do have to think about how to use the topography, specifically the rivers, as far as managing what goods you're going to transfer down and how you're going to continue building up a thriving metropolis while still supplying everything we need. Presumably, there's more that's going to happen here as well. I mean, obviously, we have our king. In this case, he's not been doing a lot with me except for giving me additional charters, education, regions to work with, but the entire premise of the game is that the kingdom is in need of resources, so I wouldn't be surprised if in the full release version we start getting some demands from the king, resources that have to be traded down the river. That will be a new challenge, of course. Not to mention, I haven't had to worry much about things like politics as of yet, right? That was a thing, right? We have all these different cultures, we have all these different noble houses, and they have different power levels across different towns, but what is that going to mean in the end? I don't know yet. Depending on how this game continues to develop and how much they toss in here, this game could become incredibly complex, and also incredibly fun. It's just that some things are currently not really available. Like, what's this sand for? No idea. Presumably glass and stuff later once we have artisans, but at the moment, totally useless. We can still predict what's going to happen, though. I think it's pretty fun. It's a little simplistic in some ways, because at the end of the day, all you have to do is just kind of think, all right, this resource missing, placed down here. Where the game starts getting really complex is when you have to start thinking about the higher level production chains and where things are going to interface across the entire region. It starts off really, really easy. How do I build up this small area? That's fine. That's simple enough. But once you get this game to its full scale, I can imagine it's going to be a very complex trade game, and some people are definitely going to be into that. For now, though, that's all we really have to look at. I think it's an interesting game. Again, the release date has not been announced, so I don't know when it's going to come out in 2026, but it is supposed to be sometime this year. I will include a link in the description down below. You can certainly check it out for yourself, decide if it floats your boat. Otherwise, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If so, I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.